Y'all, it finally happened. I thought I could escape it, but I could not. So Leia finally got me making videos. So I'm here to show y'all how to make some white rice and Nigerian turkey stew and some plantains. So let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to wash your protein. We went with turkey right here, but you really can use beef. You can use chicken if you want. Alright, as for the seasonings, I'm going to go in with some salt. I'm going to go in with some red pepper, some onion powder, and some garlic powder. I like to keep it really simple with the seasonings, especially being or trying to be a little bit more health conscious. But feel free to, season this as you like. The one thing you kind of have to have with this meal is the Maggi cubes. That is a staple. You can't skip that with this dish. You can usually get them at the African or the Caribbean store near you. Hold on, y'all. Pause. Y'all see how hard it is to break these cubes down in the winter? Because they get so hard in the wintertime. So I had to pull out, special equipment to get the job done. So yeah, know this is one thing I do not like with these cubes is that they get really hard. And yeah, sometimes you just gotta figure out a way to get the job done, and that's okay. Alright, y'all, next we are going to get some water in this, and then we are going to transfer this to the stovetop on medium to high heat, and we're gonna let it cook for a minute. The goal for this is just to get the meat tender, and we're still gonna bake the meat. I really don't like frying my meat, so we're gonna kind of steam this for a while, and then we're gonna bake this after. So again, medium to high heat is the goal here. Alright, next in a clean blender, you want to wash and you want to cut up some bell peppers, some tomatoes, and you want to cut up some red onions as well. And finally, some Scotch bonnet peppers. You want to get everything in there, and you want to kind of blend until smooth. This usually takes about 3 to 5 minutes, but it's really not about the time. You just want to get a really smooth consistency with your blend. At this point, I went back to check on my turkey. Make sure you're keeping an eye on the protein, giving it a good turn every now and then so that the seasoning is distributed evenly. Alright, this is a crucial step, y'all. Make sure you transfer your pepper mixture or your pepper blend into a saucepan over high to try to pull out as much water as possible from it before we actually use it to cook. Alright, y'all, at this point, the turkey is finished steaming, so I am going to transfer it to the oven to finish the cooking process. I typically keep my oven at about 350 degrees, and I bake for about 35 or 30 minutes to 45 minutes. But what I'm really looking for is for that golden color, that golden brown color. Once you get that color, then you pretty much know that, you're done with the process. Also, make sure you keep the stock from this process. You want to keep the cooking stock because it's going to come in handy down the line. All right, now we are going to make some rice. We are going to be doing about 2 to 3 cups of rice. We just found out that that's usually a good amount for the week. Lasts us a couple of meals. And y'all watch how she gets in my face. Look at this. Look. Can never have nothing while I'm cooking. Anyways, we are gonna give this a thorough wash, and then we are going to salt lightly. Again, we are trying to avoid as much sodium as possible, so light salt. And that's pretty much it for the rice, y'all. Alright, next you want to chop and slice half an onion. I think that's typically a good amount. And this is going to serve as the base for the sauce. Alright, next we're going to get some oil, and we are going to apply some oil to our cooking pot. I typically don't like to use a lot of oil, but again, this is something you could vary as you want. So once we have that oil in there, we're going to go ahead and add some curry powder, and we're going to go in there and add some thyme as well. All this is personal preference. This dish can be made without curry and thyme in the oil. We're going to transfer that red onion to the pan we're cooking with, and we're going to break that up, stir it a little bit. Next, we are going to add some tomato paste to that. And this is going to be the base for our stew. Once we add this in here, we are going to stir and, get that broken up a little bit and let it like kind of fry. And what this does is basically it removes the bitterness from the tomato paste, and it's common with a lot of other dishes too. Okay, so after about 3 to 4 minutes of stirring, we are going to transfer our dried up tomato mix into the pan, and we are going to stir this as well, get that really mixed up in there, and then we're going to cover and let that cook for a while. All right, here I'm coming back adding a little bit of salt and 1 additional Maggi cube. Again, this is just my seasoning preference. Feel free to adjust the recipe as you would like, but usually this does it for me. Next, for the plantains, I'm going to add a good amount of oil to a secondary pan, and you're going to let this heat up. And then I just typically like to cup my plantains right into the oil when it's hot. I don't add any salt. Again, I'm watching sodium. Some people like to season theirs. I feel like I like to just fry the plantains as is. After about 10 minutes, I went back to check on my stew mix that was cooking. And remember that turkey stock from earlier? This is where we add it in. I never really use the whole thing. I usually use about half, but this is where you add it in, and then we close it up, let it keep cooking. So back to the plantains, turning after about maybe 3 minutes or so. This is the color you really want for the plantains, that deep golden brown color. And once that's done cooking, I'm going to transfer it to a bowl, lined with a paper towel, let some of that oil drain out. And then next, I am going to check on some of that turkey that's been cooking. Again, it's usually done in about 30 to 40 minutes, but what you're really looking for is that nice golden color. And once you have that, it's ready. I am transferring it to the stew, and I am stirring again, just to get it all mixed in there. And that is pretty much it for the stew, I think, at this point. All right, the final step is plating, and we are going to start with the rice. I know you guys are wondering about the asparagus, but that was from a previous meal that we had the day before. I typically take plating very importantly. I think it's even as important as cooking. So I'm using this little bowl to kind of get the shape that I want with the rice. And then I'm going to get some of the plantains in there. The final addition to the plate is some of that turkey stew that we made. It just goes right on top. And that's pretty much it for this meal. And this is the final look. So please, guys, let us know in the comments what you thought about this. If you have tried the recipe yourself, or if you've made something similar, please let us know if you do, what steps you take, or how this can be improved based on, your thoughts. And show some love, leave a like, and we will see you guys later. If you don't need to do it. Put it in your mouth. No, it was for the show.